Hello everyone, my name is Jamie, I'm with Mitch. It's episode 18 of the Break-Thru Active podcast, and today we have a very, very special guest. It's our first allied health professional. When we started this podcast, it was our idea to bring professionals on to provide more value to our members in regards to different topics. How are you today, Mitch?
Good, thanks, mate. Yeah, like Jamie just mentioned, excited to have our first guest outside of a member here on the show. So we're going to go do a bit of a deep dive into a few different topics regarding health and fitness and how it's going to be helpful for you guys as well.
And how are you, Justin?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, boys.
You're welcome. So I'll explain the genesis of mine and Justin's relationship. Over the last few years, I've had issues with my left foot in regards to plantar fasciitis, often referred to as the heel spur, usually isn't, and metatarsalgia. Yeah, which is basically a general term for pain in my forefoot. Now, I've seen a bunch of different physiotherapists, I've seen a bunch of different podiatrists, and hands down, Justin was the best person I saw. And the reason why I like Justin so much is because me and Justin are cut from a similar cloth. We had sporting, played lots of sport growing up, and Justin is an avid exerciser, do functional training. So I'll ask Justin about his history in regards to what he's been doing, his history in sport, and we'll go from there. So Justin, tell us about yourself.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's a warm introduction.
You're welcome.
After that nice standard. So a bit of my background. I'm professionally now, I wear a few different hats. So as you said, I'm a podiatrist. I primarily work in musculoskeletal, lower limb injuries. Most of the time it's overuse, chronic persistent pain type stuff. Work in a brilliant multidisciplinary sports clinic, but also lecture and teach at the uni as well. So I'm part of the faculty there, teaching the new generation of sports podiatrists. But before that, I did exercise and sports science at uni. And before that, and now we also own a gym. My family own another training facility, and exercise and sports science, as I said, was my background. Olympic weightlifting now. I love all those things. A bit of CrossFit and stuff, sprinting, rugby league. So it's a good mixture, and I still love, as you said, try to exercise as much as I can, and still actively doing a little bit of coaching here and there just to try to keep my head in the game a bit. But it's a nice mixture.
Now we do have a few avid Knights fans, so they might have seen you in reserves. Nelly?
Very avid. Yeah, Nelly, mate.
One of the oldest members of all time, Newcastle Knights.
She's been a member since 1988.
Really?
You want to play in front of her?
Well, she'd have to be pretty avid to remember my name. And I was lucky to play through the juniors. Moved down, that was what brought me to Newcastle actually, from the bush when I was 16. I moved down playing a bit of footy for the Knights, played through the junior grades up to reserve grade, and I love it. And now my office is at the stadium, so I work along some of the sports doctors who see all the guys. So it's great. Spent a little bit of time at the Tigers down in Sydney. Didn't like Sydney as much, and it definitely wasn't quite cracking. It was actually when James Tedesco burst onto the scene. My claim to fame is I kept him out of his spot for 1 week. He was only 18 or so at the time.
He had to battle with all that adversity.
That means I was kept him out of spot for 0 weeks.
Close second. What did you like about Newcastle when you first came up in?
Newcastle's a beautiful city. It's a sweet spot. I mean, and so one, it's big enough that it's got all the wonderful services that we have. It's got a lot of the things of the city, all the infrastructure. And when I talk about healthcare, I think it really applies. The biggest employer of the hunter is health, which we often forget. We think about mining and all that sort of stuff. We've got big, awesome hospitals. So from my bias of looking from healthcare, it's fantastic. But it's still country enough. I mean, compared to the city, it's still got that feel.
I've had a knee operation and 2 shoulder operations, and Dr. Chua did my knee, which is really highly regarded in Sydney now. And the shoulder surgeon, I'm forgetting his name, is in Charlestown, Dr.
What's his name of the shoulder guys around?
The point being is there are lots of good health professionals in Newcastle. Went on the Central Coast, where we grew up, you either drive to Newcastle, but more likely to Sydney.
Well, it's a nice place to live, and doctors know that as well, right? It's we've got a big, awesome teaching facility here, based out of Newcastle University, with the joint medical programmers and the allied health stream. So people want to work here, including health professionals. So
I think it's got just about everything you would need other than an international airport and maybe some concerts and things. But I think the airport's going that way if we can ever fly abroad again. But no, we talk about that quite a lot because we grew up on the Central Coast, which is a lot quieter and not as much really happening. There's not as much opportunity, but we love it up here and definitely see our future being here. But it's interesting. You said you grew up in the bush. So
Yeah,
whereabouts
so in the upper under, so out the back of Scone,
Yep.
horse capital of Australia.
Right.
So yeah, and same thing. It was either move to the bush or go into the property or work in the coal mines. So I chose to continue studying and stuff like that. But I think Newcastle is big in the sense that the health community, the fitness community is just as prominent.
Yeah.
I think it's it's big.
I think obviously there's a lot less people when looking at it compared to Sydney, but there are a lot of gyms around and a lot of physiotherapists and a lot of other health professionals. So it seems like you might know a little more than us, but like a very healthy community when you look at the amount of people we have compared to how much we have on offer.
I often wonder why that is. And I think it's because
It is
there's a lot of
beach.
space. There's beaches. It's an outdoor field. It's the same as if you go up to like Gold Coast around that area. There's a lot of people outside because it's attractive.
I think if you live in the bush, you might spend months and months and years going to the beach, and you can take your shirt off, having something a bit more subconscious, and then more likely to be unconscious.
I think as well, if you look at Newcastle, typically people might not be working quite as long of hours as they might in Sydney, so they are putting a bit more emphasis in it, health and fitness and the work-life balance. So, I mean, it's good for us and good for you and good for people who live in the area. There are, we're not short of opportunities and options.
Yeah, and we said this throughout COVID as well, when we were coming work out to the Zooms, not just our facility, there are so many amazing places to go exercise and with your friends. What an opportunity people in Newcastle have to just experience this, have fun while improving their health.
Yeah, and that's sorry.
Yeah, right. I was just going to say, for you, obviously growing up playing sport and playing at a good level, did you know that you wanted to transition into something like this once maybe it was a life after sport, or was that not really a thought even back when you were playing?
No, it's a good question. I was pretty lucky. I definitely did think about that a bit more, probably because I was pushing so hard. I definitely wasn't one of the top performers that was getting picked first every single week, so I probably by default had to think a bit more laterally about that. So yeah, I certainly always saw myself in and around sport and exercise, but always being a little bit smaller on the team. I always did work a little bit harder in the gym and work a bit harder on my fitness and speed and agility. So I really enjoyed that element in the science of physical performance, and I think that flowed on into my curiosity in the space, which is really common for a lot of people.
Same as like really, really, really great sport players don't make good coaches, because you need to learn the strength, the conditioning, all those final points of the game just to be at that level, because they're just so naturally gifted.
I think as well with a lot of the really top end players, they probably don't even think about life after that, or they're one knee injury away from having to become a PE teacher, or that next step. So somewhat fortunate.
I think you could call it performance punishment. Is the thing. If you're so good at something, you're autonomous at it. You don't even give two thoughts of it, and you can't really think of anything else. So.
I played AFL with Podiatry. They played in Newcastle, Black Diamond, and there's players there that for 10 years didn't roll over. They never had an injury, 22 games a year, every Saturday. How the hell can you feel that good every Saturday for 10 years? I'd pull a hamstring, I'd tear my knee, my shoulders. It's just, some people just genetically just built to play certain sports.
Yeah, you're spot on, and there is certainly predispositions for people. For sure, we see that a lot. A couple of key things, talking a little bit more clinically, what we actually screen for if someone comes in. Everyone sits on a spectrum of floppy and stiff, the hyper or hypomobile. I'm talking about
Pretty fancy word for a doctor.
Yeah, yeah. And that continuum is one of the main, and it's what do you have mobile joints, and that's a connective tissue fibre. You have a high percentage of collagen 1 versus collagen 2, and that's a predisposition. You can become stiff from lifting lots of weights and get muscular stiffness and getting bigger.
Don't look at that.
I'm the same though, but that's a big one, and often they're naturally quite mobile. It comes quite easily to them. That's a big screening tool that often is when people talk about I'm really naturally pretty mobile and coordinated and things like that. That's a common one that we'll see. They're pretty good.
Do you find that there's a link between that and injury prevention?
It's a good question. Different types. You see patterns and archetypes. So, for instance, if we say the one end, the really mobile, super floppy person, just generally they will have more instability moments. So they're more likely to say roll a joint or dislocate something. Might not even necessarily injure the structure. I had a girl last week come in and say, when I'm running, I run trails and I roll my ankle fair bit. It never hurts. And I test her, and she's super mobile, so she's got quite lax ligaments, and so she doesn't actually strain or tear anything. You know, but for her, she's quite unstable and more effortful to do strength-based things. You know, so she, on the whole, she's an endurance runner where it's more slow twitch, and she gravitates towards that. Sometimes, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
I think when you're younger as well, you typically would gravitate towards things that you're better at.
Yeah.
And typically, like, you know, if you're not great at something, you're probably not going to persist at it too long unless you've got your mum or dad really pushing you towards doing it. But there are, you know, in the most basic level, you look at rugby league, typically, you know, the guys are a bit bigger and stronger and can handle a bit more brute force. They're probably going to be a little more, I guess, a bit more longevity in the game as opposed to ones who are maybe a little bit on the small side and get weeded out. There's always outliers there.
I don't want to take away from their skill set, but they're big, they're fast, they're powerful, and they don't get injured at the right time.
Yeah.
I've seen so many great A4 players come through terrible, and they were so close to making it. They were in the Swans Academy, like Bulldogs Academy, SU Academy. A few of them were drafted, and it was just ACL tear in the 18. Just that one injury, and it's devastating to get that close to it, and then just have to find like a little world.
Well, even on the larger scale, like we're both NBA fans, I don't know if you follow that, but you know, you hear of like what could have been stories where like Tracy McGrady and people that played Green Hill, they were supposedly going to be, you know, meant to Michael Jordan or close to it. They had injuries and fell short. So
even Kawhi was sort of horrible quad, working with the best doctors in the world with his console. Like that's genetics. There's something going on there.
LeBron James has never had a serious injury.
Yeah, he's a true marvel. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's good. And he's got, if you were to see him barefoot, he looks like he's got a shocking feet of play, but highly functioning, and it's function over form now.
So let's talk about podiatry.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, podiatrists, they specialise in the lower limb. So the more common injuries, I guess, not like fungal nails, it's like the more biomechanical injuries you'd see would be appendicitis.
So heel pain syndrome is the most contemporary version of that syndrome, meaning a cluster of things all pertaining to the back of the heel. And I'd say every week, multiple times a week, that's a really common one. Again, the two types of injuries, so the more acute injuries, yes, rolled ankles are really common as well, and yes, I see that a lot. Physios also see those types of things quite a bit as well. The acute type injuries, the pop, click, snaps, versus the persistent overuse, niggling things that just come on gradually. Those ones are the ones which tend to need other people's help a lot more. I know we were discussing this just before previously as well. Heel pain certainly be one of those. Tendinopathies in the lower limb tendons, so Achilles tendinopathies is really common. Your forefoot pathologies, which would sit into that category, like your metatarsalgia, those cluster of injuries, bruising under the front of the heel. You know, those types of things that come on gradually, and it's usually just some sort of change, one of the variables changing. They're annoying.
And when I came to you, I was so frustrated because I tried to do the right thing, I'm dealing with my rehab, I've just got bad feet. And I guess for someone who hasn't had plantar fasciitis, it is just like having glass in your shoe. And until they experience that, they don't understand. What people don't realise is it's 1 in 10 experiences throughout their life.
Yeah, I think it's even more now. Yeah, like it's so prevalent. And there's a couple of reasons why. The main things I say why is one, it's an extremity, so it's got pretty crappy blood supply, therefore pretty crappy healing naturally. Two, it's the first thing that hits the ground, so it's really hard to get rest for. You know, you get a sore finger, you can sort of take it up, use your other hand. You get something related to just general day-to-day, everyday activities like walking and standing. It's hard to get rest for.
And we've had probably 50 plus members mention to us they've had heel pain or forefoot pain, and his story is where I can't get a better one. There's a famous UFC fighter, Dr. Cruz, he had a shocking case of it, and he used to crawl to the shower in the morning, just to put heat on his feet before that first step. So just for our members out there, do you want to explain that why it would be more painful in the morning?
Good question. So firstly, of a night time, it's when your body is trying to heal, and if you picture the heel, it's when you're standing on the ground, all the tissues are compressed. You are doing damage throughout the day when you're loading it and walking it, just repetition of that. But over night time, it's when the body's trying to heal. So it's laying down all these immature collagen fibers, early stage healing cells, inflammatory markers are coming, and it tries to heal. The foot's in a flaccid, relaxed position, so the plantar fascia is shortened, and it's trying to heal in that shortened position. And then you stand up, and you tear, and you just go tear, 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 all these little micro tears again, ow, 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 and that cycle keeps on going. So what you said before about, you know, people, so prevalent, so many people having it, it's because a lot of the structures, and this is the paradox, the double-edged sword of a lot of foot structures, they're really strong and resilient. We say they're painful, but often they're not fragile. So what I mean by that is, yeah, you can have pain for ages, and like, damn, well, I really want to do this workout, I really need to work, or I really want to do this thing. You can sort of push through it because you know it's not like if you, like for instance, twinge your hammy about it, you know that's fragile. Just a couple more runs, like you're going to tear it solid. You know?
And I guess what bothers both Mitch and I, we see members in here, and we love you all, but they grow so accustomed to being in pain, that becomes the new norm. And life is too short, life is too great to be in heel pain. And when my heel was at its worst, I think it was like summer 2017, I almost cried one day, it was that bad. I was running sessions, I was just miserable, and I didn't go to the beach the entire year. It's the idea of walking on sand without on flooding, without strapping. And it's hard to understand, it is brutal.
I've never had any foot pain, but I can appreciate that, obviously the difficulties that people have with pain, because like you mentioned before, it's literally our contact with the earth, and there's no way you can avoid it. If you've got a sore shoulder, I mean, it's not ideal. You can kind of use the other arm a bit more, or which is not great either. But I think that for a lot of people in here, one of the most common questions we get asked, and ask your opinion on this as well, is what's the best type of shoe for training? And obviously that's probably not just a one size fits all answer, but could you give a bit more, I guess, clarity on what to look for in a shoe?
Absolutely, yeah. So I love my models and try things to simplify things. But one of the main frameworks is reverse engineering. I love reverse engineering. And shoe selection is a couple of key things. One, what's the task demands? And plug in, well, is it suitable for that task? So what do you need from that? So in the gym, if you're doing a mixture of, let's say if it's a hit type workout and you need a bit of stability because you're doing some stationary work, maybe some single unilateral leg work, but you're also doing a bit of plyometric stuff, so a little bit of shock absorption might be helpful as well. So knowing what the task demands are, plus plug in if there's any injury demands or anything like that. For instance, if you've got a big bunion and you've got a really stiff shoe that doesn't have any flex through the upper, you're not going to like that as much because it's going to rub more, so that might be a criteria for you. Or if you've got heel pain at the moment, or an absorption type injury or something that gets a bit sore when we talk anything that's shock absorbing, then yeah, you might feel better needing a bit more cushion in that shoe. So I think plugging in what are the task demands, and also what are the presentation demands if there is any presentation. But to the asymptomatic population, what's worked in the past is a really good predictor of what's going to work in the future.
Actually, that's funny you mentioned that. I wore Nikes the whole life, and I was told by every person on earth, buy Asics for running, buy Asics for running, buy Asics for running. When I switched to Asics for a Kari, I bought the new pair, and I thought I was so happy, my life's going to change. And that's when I got problems.
I ended up with that pair of Asics.
Yeah.
It's a big predictor. It's a big predictor. Like, why make changes for the sake of change? Like, for the asymptomatic, people will pass the time, oh, is this a good shoe or a bad shoe? Great, well, what's it for? And then I say, do you like it? Has there been any issues with it before? Oh, great, go for gold. I will check, make sure it's not too worn out, and if the shoe fits okay. But making, particularly run shoes, training shoes, don't make too big of a change from one shoe to the next. To pick it on feel and comfort. People tend to prefer a lighter weight shoe generally for performance, and then make sure it's not too worn.
Well, our knowledge is getting better every year. So people like you, and we just continue our learning. And the idea that there's one shoe that everyone is just ridiculous.
Well, what's your opinion on going into? And I've never done this, but you go into like an athlete's foot or something, and they almost test you for.
That's a great way to sell your shoe.
Yeah. That's what I kind of think, and maybe I'm looking too much into it. But I think, okay, we'll try this on, and what are you doing? You're doing a bit of running, okay? We'll test this, and you go for a couple of hops up and down the store, and then they'll tell you that whatever it is, and they've got lots of stock in the back. So do you think there is some, I guess, credit to that?
Yeah.
That whole process if you go into a store?
It's a good question. If you have pain and you're looking to them for a solution for your pain, you're not necessarily going to get it, and nor should you put that pressure on them, nor should they accept that pressure either. So the good shoes don't.
That staff member had tried to told
podiatrist.
Ended up there. So I guess what I learned from Justin when I met him in January, I was dealing with forefoot pain for a while, and usually I'm pretty good, but I thought it was stress fracture. I thought I don't need all the time, and I put off going to podiatrist for probably 2 months longer than I should have, and I was almost scared to go. I knew it was going to be an orthopedic, and I knew it was going to be an issue, and there was a simple strapping technique that he showed me, and I looked in there. And I walked out feeling great. Remember, I would have called you so excited.
You lease on live.
There was something you mentioned, I'm going to paraphrase it for you here. It was, I saw the Dutch a couple years ago. She strapped my foot. It took 5 minutes. And I filmed her strap it. And then Ellen, my partner, had to strap it. She hated it. I hated it. And there was a term you used, like, the way you showed me how to strap it was so simple, so easy. I could do it every time I'm there in the shower. So I guess these injuries that you had, it can be the simplest little tweaks, that changed my touch. We were painting this place at the time, and it changed the week. I was so happy.
Yeah, no, it's and that's one of the key things, and this is what I'm very passionate about as an educator at the uni, and some of the other projects we work on with community. You know, improving our ability to translate the knowledge and the information that we have to the people that we're working with, because we know if it's too complex and too hard, you're not going to be compliant. So, and if it's too expensive, you're not going to be compliant. We need to, I always say, and for people probably watching, I always say there's a spectrum of options, doing nothing at one end of the spectrum and chopping off your legs at the other. We always start at this end where we're not doing anything, we hope it goes away, and when it doesn't, we just make one little step. We're just making little incremental steps till we find a point of resolution.
Yeah, so for example, my treatment, it was a custom orthotic originally that he made there for me.
Yeah, it was a semi-custom. I ordered it off the shelf,
Yeah.
so that's probably a big difference there as well.
Yeah, and then, I wasn't waiting up for it.
No.
It wasn't that expensive. And then he gave me a sock for my heel, which you press to take pressure off. And it was that little Break-Thru strap that I love. I use to this day. And then every time I saw Justin, we just, as you mentioned, just took the options away until now I'm no athletic. That's normal. And that style of treatment was so good for me. So I walked into a previous podiatrist, and it was like, you need custom orthotics. And it was $600. She strapped my heel, which I couldn't possibly do on my own. She gave me foam inserts, and it was 15 different things to do. And I tried to do it.
I think you come from the type of person who is going to be seeking out that help whenever you do have aches and pains. You've seen all types of specialists over the years, whenever you've had any sort of pain. But a lot of the people, at least in our program that we're involved with, they will be at the complete other end of that spectrum, and they'll have shoulder pain for 3 years and they won't even go see anybody. The thought of seeing a physiotherapist or even a doctor, even if that's their first point of call, is something that they just are very, I guess, stubborn with. So what would your advice be for, I guess, people listening who may have some sort of pain, whether it be foot or heel pain or anywhere else? Like, what do you think is something that might help them decide, help them make the right decision to see something?
I think that's a really important point you touched on with, and I think of our communities, our health literacy. One of my goals, and your goals is coaching, and this is an amazing platform you provide for service for your community. But improving people's health literacy, we talk about our writing literacy and numeracy and all these other skills. I mean, the one thing we live and die with is our body and our brain. You know, what are the things we don't have in school? We don't have topics that much unless you get to high school and you start to get curious about biology or performance or whatever. So to circle back and think about what are the main things that people could be really doing for themselves is really just becoming more curious about it, finding your tribe of trusted people, and that's why coaches is so important, and we as health professionals need to do a better job of communicating and educating and working with you guys so that your members feel comfortable finding the people that they can ask critical questions of and get quality information. But one of my mentors and colleagues I work with at the moment, he said a quote which I love from last week: investigate aggressively and treat conservatively. And I think in healthcare we get caught up in the business of healthcare too much, and people get burned because they just overspend all these things. They didn't follow the best gold standard evidence-based protocols. They didn't have a win. So as a community, then they tell their friend, like, oh, don't do that, and then we adopt this mindset.
That's where the impact comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
You
know, so
and people are going to remember those bad experiences more than anything. That's going to live with them, and like speak about maybe something like a chiropractor. I'm not going to say chiropractor, but it can be your sister's daughter's cousin who had a bad experience with a chiropractor, and then the sister's cousin, and whatever, whoever you are, then along that line, they're probably isn't going to see it as if that.
Yeah.
But if someone's had a good experience, maybe it hasn't gone down the line. So I think bad news travels quicker than good news.
It does.
And I think if I saw you from day one, 3 years ago, I think I would have saved myself a lot of pain, a lot of time, and a lot of money. And
I think it just needs to be used.
So even with my shoulder, I had both surgeries done through AFL, and I saw a physio, and she was an absolute delight. She was 21, first day of university. Her advice to me was rest. And I told her to super spinator, to tendon in your shoulder, and I rested, developed really bad frozen shoulder. The tendon healed, and then I lost all use of, I guess, all mechanics of going overhead, scapular elevation, retraction, contraction. And the same thing, if I saw the correct physio at that time, I couldn't have avoided 2 surgeries.
And it's educated, and that's why I'm now in my stage of my career, and I'm only probably 7 years of practicing as a podiatrist, a few years before that. But now, seeing to have a bigger reach and to improve the overall big challenge of improving people's health literacy, improving those scenarios and stories needs to be advocating more and getting us better at communicating and conveying a message that can clearly be articulated and understood. So I think, yes, trying to develop more young health professionals to bridge the gap between particularly coaches, and I think you guys again play a really important role as the linchpin of point of contact for your communities and a trusted expert.
I think that's just it, because if someone just jumps on Google or listens to someone else who maybe doesn't know as much about it, they're just going to go and see whoever. If they have that experience there, someone's first year out of university, maybe they don't have a whole lot of experience, or they're just having a bad day and misdiagnosed, whatever it is. But I think being well connected in the space, so being able to call on someone who is trusted and know that you're going to get good treatment for them. And then for us as well, from our perspective, knowing that we're sending someone to the right place who's going to get you there. It's not someone who's going to be trying to take all their money or gloss over in a 5-minute run around appointment. So I think being connected and having those avenues that you know you can send people to.
Yeah, and I think I remember I called you up, we spent 90 minutes together. My appointment was for an hour.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I recognise that you spent the extra time. And the other thing to the coaches, and I'm sure there's others out there, we've referred people to physiotherapists. They've given advice and I would consider questionable, like rest. And that member has then cancelled their membership due to the fact that they need rest for 12 weeks. And the answer, very rarely, is complete rest. And I think we pride ourselves, and one of the things that we're given credit for is we can alter and vary anything. Any movement is better than no movement. Like mentally, physically, emotionally, restarting is easier.
That comes back to just a general GP as well.
Yeah, don't trust the GP.
People will come in and they'll say, I've got no energy, and then all of a sudden they've got chronic fatigue and they need to have a year off it in. That's not going to
And before they ask the overweight person, what do you have for breakfast? He's German.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, we'll leave that for now.
The GPs are tricky, mate. I work as part of my role and at the uni, and also just in advocacy and stepping out of the clinic and more into the gyms and communicating and chatting with other health professionals and things. GPs are, the traditions of the family general practitioner, where they know all and see all. They're so overwhelmed and so busy now. I don't blame them at all. They tend to get a bad rap. Great ones are fantastic. They just don't have that much time. Their main thing is being the linchpin to connecting with quality people now. But us, it's tricky. There's this generational thing. So our parents' generation and older, we learn from them. Oh, you're sick? I'll go see the GP. Roll your ankle? Go see the doctor. What do you mean? But they don't know any difference about it. Healthcare has changed. So they still see the GP, and then that GP has a decision, depending on what training they have, they're like, oh, okay, their mental medical model is like clear red flags. Is it something systemic? Do you have gout? Is it rheumatoid arthritis? Is it some of these things? That they go, here's this medication because that's my training. Or, but again, we're improving. The better ones like, great, you need this, see this person, they'll provide X, Y, Z.
I think as well, just like any profession, this goes for coaches and trainers, for doctors, podiatrists, lawyers, teachers, they're not all the same. There is good and bad ones, and people can end up differently with different ones. So it's unfair to throw a blanket over one profession and say, I hate lawyers. like for instance, and that's something that you know, I've got a good friend who's a lawyer, and we hear that. But again, the same as in the healthcare, there are good ones and bad ones, and maybe someone who's 67 years old and is 1 year away from retirement maybe doesn't care about the patients as much as he did 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think exploring that option and really finding someone who is good for you.
And if you value your health, go see a specialist. Don't go see a generalist. The generalist is okay, but if you really care about your body, go see a specialist.
But I think that's what Justin said. Like the generation's been brought up to see the doctor. They don't really know any better, and even sometimes we hear like for a physio, like you have to have a referral. Like, they would love for you to give them a call and go
I
straight
remember
to
when I saw my GP for my shoulder when I was 18, my parents told me to go.
Yeah.
They did the classic internal rotation test, which is like an upright row almost. They said, no, it's fine. I'll be broken. Go away.
that
exactly.
fix- that fix chronic
As you
trouble.
said, it's not even their fault. That's not their job.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. We have a better network of where we send people to. You people rate up the best handyman. All right, who's your podiatrist?
Yeah. Well, that's
who takes care of your feet?
That's one thing I will probably plug, which is a group. So we've established the Future Health Networks, and off the back of myself and I've got a couple of the other three guys involved with physios in various capacities. One's an associate professor at the uni with a background in physio. The other one's doing his PhD in S&C, gentleman in physio. Another one's another private practice physio as well. And we're all at similar stages in their career. Really good friends. We've become really good. We wanted to build the Justice League and bridge the gap for coaches and health professionals and get that, because that relationship is so important. So we started running workshops and things like that, just to try and create a space where where we can identify things. We identified a couple of key areas. It's thinking better, so contemporary pain science, and the professor at uni, he does lots of research and big studies around that sort of stuff. Communicate better, so implementing better motivational interviewing strategies, goal designing stuff, better stuff that you don't get in traditional healthcare learning in uni, that's for sure. Collaborate better, which is what I deliver, which I'm very passionate about, as you can tell, is developing your matrix of who the hell you should be, who should you know in your sphere. Sore knees, so this. You're not sleeping well, you should speak to this person. Your mental health's a little bit this, you need to meet this person. Like, build these professions, build this web, and start to fill in the blanks. How do you validate who should sit at those seats? And the other one is programming better. And bridging a lot of, we know that exercise is medicine, and a lot of the quality contemporary stuff, you need to be building in proper exercise prescriptions.
Is another conversation for another day.
Yeah, well, I know you guys and that, but in injury rehab to performance, taking that, like, we see a little bit of fundamentals usually, and unless you do a lot of add-ons and learn and get better, it's hard to upskill in a clinic. Like, I'm lucky, I've got a big gym space in my facility, so I'm familiar with it, but it's tricky.
See, I saw your ad on Facebook, and that's what sold me was the gym space.
That was like the first ad I've ever done as well.
Yeah, I thought this guy must go to the gym. and I think especially for myself, and I want to see someone who has a similar days to me, as opposed to the podiatrist who says rest completely. I'm not going to rest. And it goes back to, like, will this person follow through the rehab program? You told me to rest, I'm not going to do it.
I think that I think it was the third point you brought up there, and having that sphere of people and having that network. And I think for a lot of people, and you might get this a little bit, if someone hurts their foot or ankle or heel or whatever, they may not even know that that's what a podiatrist does. That might sound really silly, but for someone who hasn't seen it, maybe you could talk a little more about the difference between what maybe a physio would do, and then a little more about like what you would do, because you are the specialist in that area.
That's a really good point. I work with lots of brilliant physios and lots of various workshops and different stuff, and it's less about, in modern day healthcare, it's less about the title that you wear on your forehead and more about the skill sets and the proficiencies that you have, right? So the reality is, if you roll your ankle, of course, you can see me, you can see the physio, you can see a quality osteopath, you can see a sports physician, you can see lots of different people. The question is, how often do they actually see that, right? Because a lot of people, like your GP you said before, he can see the shoulder, but really, how often does he see an 18-year-old for a shoulder pain issue? Not that often, right? So who sees this the most is the question. and what skill set do they have? Is there an alignment on a fundamental level? But it's like, I picture it like a Venn diagram of overlapping skill sets between myself and physio. I actually do this in stuff when I do some workshops with physios, because there's so much in the middle, and that's fine. Like, if I ruptured my Achilles and I saw my mate who's a physio to design my program for me, I could have seen another colleague, because I know he'd injured himself in that before, and he sees it more than other people. So there's a big overlap. So knowing gold standard protocols for that structure is probably a better question. Like, does that person know that, and do they see it a lot? Then it doesn't matter who you see, really, right? Our profession is built off a foundation of general care, nail care, corns, calluses, ingrown toenails, diabetic stuff.
I think that's a big misconception of diatrists. Like, my mum looked at the diatrist with an ingrown toenail, and then the biomechanical side is just another world. It's
a niche though. Like, our profession is still 80-90% that. You know, if you had to throw a dart, if you rolled your ankle tomorrow and you had to throw a dart at just a profession, I would also say you've got a better chance of getting a better outcome at a physio, because on a fundamental level, they would see it more than our profession would. Now, my diary is heavily skewed towards musculoskeletal, chronic lower limb stuff, but it's taken years and a lot of skill training to do that. I still see a lot of blisters and rubs and ingrown toenails, mostly for athletic populations, dermatological things. So there's a big overlap, so it's a long way to answer your question. But so I think our job needs to do a better. We are getting better at educating and positioning ourselves with our skill set and getting better at universal.
I think that's our responsibility as coaches as well. Not leaving it to the consumer to have to research that, because it's somewhat complicated to find. And if we're able to, you know, like I said, be well connected in the community and other health professionals in the industry too, if they can speak to a member or a friend or someone and say, hey, like, I've got this issue, being able to refer them to the right place, as opposed to leaving them to do their own research, because they'll probably end up in the
wrong place.
Yeah, the hands of the wrong. Well, you think so, yeah. If they're not.
One of my pet peeves as coaches is, like, we get paid to provide a service to improve people's health, yet coaches don't want to pay for a service to improve their health. That's why when I have an injury, I am so quick to a physio, podiatrist. That's what they do. Like, that's what I believe in. Like, if you have an issue, if you need help losing weight, if you need help getting stronger, come see me. You've got a foot issue. Let's do Justin.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, people spend money on what's important to them. So obviously for you, it's the utmost importance, as it is for me. I've just been fortunate enough to not really have too much injuries, but I think at the end of the day, if you're willing to part with your money, and with that part of your money also comes the time and rehab, and like I think you mentioned earlier, it can get delayed sometimes because we don't want to come to terms with the harsh reality that you might have a bit more of a serious injury. You can sweep it under the rug and you're not worried about it, but I think you've probably, it seems like, positioning yourself where you're dealing with more serious people, which has probably been a bit of a pressure.
Yeah, well, I still think there's always, you know, you said that you said before about people, you know, wanting to push it away. It's another probably thing we talk about a lot in and we talk about it. One of my colleagues in the Future Health Network talks about it a lot. It tells a story of the 3 archetypes of people and the trainers in our facilities, and you probably resonate to them. There's the coper, the endurer, the person that just pushes through, like, oh, no, I don't want to. They can endure a lot. You know, they can push through the pain, whether it be injury or just their threshold to enduring pain in a session. Yeah. There's the avoider, so the person that just, they don't want to do too much, so they'll just avoid things. They won't, you know, they just won't ever deadlift because they once had a little back issue ages ago or whatever. You know, so there are a couple of really common archetypes that we'll see. You know,
you could almost pinpoint that with people and then walk in.
Yeah, I would have came in your clinic and just blurred out and please like.
So knowing, there's so much psychology with pain and building rapport, and we call it patient-practitioner alliance. And how do you align? And I've got, maybe it's because I've got a sister that's a clinical psychologist. I'm fascinated by, you know, the psychology of getting better, and performance, of overcoming injuries and things like that. And you know, we want to work with people that know, like, and trust you. And it's so much more, like you guys in the coalface of dealing with people every single day. It's even more important. But it is fascinating. You got to know how to best. It's not how I want to communicate with you. It's how you want to be communicated to, and allow me to give, you know, bounce around different models so that something sticks. Because at the end of the day, we're all just educating everyone, leading them to their own epiphany to make change in some way, whether it be overcoming their chronic foot issue or finally getting consistent with their training and you know, hitting some targets there. So
I think we're all probably all in the same industry for the same reason, although we'll be from different backgrounds. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to help people in one way or another, and we are all wanting people to get fitter and healthier, and we have different ways to be able to, I guess, deliver that health and fitness, strategy for that. But for us, we know that it is so important to stay healthy with shoulders, back, feet, hips, all that, because if you're not healthy in that respect, you can't train at all. So I guess that's what sort of part of the reason we wanted to have you on here today, is just to communicate to the people listening that if you do have some aches and pains, and especially if they've been there for a while, then probably come and talk to us.
Yeah, that's it.
Good way, and we can help send you in the right direction, because if, like you said, there's people who avoid it or people who can tolerate it, at the end of the day we feel like as though they can get some help, and that will really help.
And in my experience, it was fixed within 1 minute. And yours might not be. Yours might take a month or 2 months or 3 months. But just get the help that you need. Because when I was injured, I had ACL, 2 shoulders, which has led to like bad tennis elbow. I think that's what it started. I had my knee done. I was much heavier than my left leg. And for me, it wasn't. I'm a trainer, and I couldn't hold boxing pads because I hurt my shoulders. And I was embarrassed, and I had to explain to them how I can't hold pads. And just the emotional, it was just really draining. And I've seen people in here with like, I can spot it in my leg and see it myself where you've got heel pain, it's a bad day, and it's don't look good. And it really can ruin your day. And I remember having a really bad shoulder movement, and I couldn't hang clothes on. So I wore wet clothes.
Chronic pain's a bugger with that, and it just clouds your brain, but it's also, it's what it stops us from doing. It's not, it's less the injury, and that's what getting to those layers of, what does this mean to you? I had a runner in yesterday, and I see lots and lots of runners, heaps of endurance runners, shin splits, all various things with shin splits the last 2 days. But the real question is, well, there's going to be the bone stress injury, there's going to be a bit of unloading, and more importantly, what does this mean to you? What does exercise mean to you? And how can does it mean, oh, well, it's fresh air and it's mental clarity for me, I work in an office all day. Cool, can we get you to the park? You can still tick a few of those boxes and modify, don't stop. So getting to the story behind the message. People just think that either just get, oh no, I'm going to be told to stop, or I just, that's just not creative enough from our perspective.
And that comes back to obviously just not having a one-size-fits-all program for people, and some people, like you said, you work with what they're, if they are like to be outside, you can adapt that to suit. I think that's important for any bout that you take, that it can't just be, again, throwing an umbrella over one condition with one strategy to improve.
I only went to a term used before, I haven't heard before, that's health literacy. I really liked it. And I guess over the last 6 months, we've been trying to expose our members to words like calories, and REM sleep, and deep sleep, and podiatry. And I think it's our job as coaches, it's really, really important, is to educate our members and the public just these basic things that can have drastic changes on their life, like the low-hanging fruit. If you eat the right amount of food, if you get a good amount of sleep, if you do weight training 3 times a week, if you get an hour of sun, that is going to drastically improve your health. It's like from 0 to 95% of your goals, you're going to get there.
I think all of those things you just mentioned, and everything that's associated with that, we're always around people like us, so we can sometimes overlook that these are things that are very well known. And for a lot of the general population, it's just things that they don't understand calories, they don't know that vitamin D comes from the sun, they don't know what REM sleep is. So I think it's
back to the term podiatry. I'm going to go out and live and say that there are some members that don't know what podiatry is. I don't know, what's the children's doctor?
Pediatrics.
Yeah, someone mentioned, I thought it was a pediatrician.
Yeah.
I didn't know, didn't you? I didn't know.
He's really educated.
Yeah, I know. The whole point is like
where do you learn it? Like, where do you learn it if you don't learn it somewhere? Like, lots of people don't.
I haven't got kids.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that's something I assumed that everyone would know. Here I am.
The whole point is we can use language and we can educate people about diets, and that's what they specialize in. And as simple as calories, like what you said before about like just that broad spectrum, I'm not going to talk to someone about insulin to me and why that carbohydrates play a role in body fat composition, because it's not important. It's the calories in, calories out, it's the sleep, it's the sunshine, it's diet, it's physios, like there's simple things that we can all do. And improve our health without overcomplicating it. And that's what, I guess, my first podiatrist did. She just overcomplicated the process for me to the point it was really fair.
Well, it keeps coming back to the same thing in this conversation where it is about education, and I think, probably to finish it up, it comes back to, I guess, your port of call for your health and fitness, whether it be a coach or if you've got a personal trainer or whatever it is, and having, or if it's a coach of sport, having someone that you can trust that will help send you in the right direction if you need some help. So I think, like I said, if we are making these people do their own research, they might be the wrong research, they're not doing it at all, but I think one thing I've taken away from this is just being well versed and having that network of people that we feel as though we can refer someone onto. And it's all going to be more beneficial for them in the long run. They're going to be able to train better, they're going to feel better, their life's going to be better, they'll be better dads, better mums. And that's something that we do feel strongly about, that improvement in health, one way or another, is going to be more beneficial to everyone else.
And before we tell you where Justin works and why stressing him, I guess the most important thing of all is you can't fake sincerity. Like the second I walk into your office, I need to get you. But it's as simple as that. I knew that you cared instantly. And I think that's what our members resonate with when they walk in. Wow, like they know my name, they know my day, they know where my partner works, they know I have this injury, they'll alter this for me. You just can't fake sincerity.
That's what I was referring to before about if you see that maybe an old, and not say all old doctors, but maybe you get someone and it's a bad day, or they've been in it for 40 years and they're retiring into the year, and you'll notice that pretty quick. And I think, like Jamie mentioned, you can definitely get a good feel for people within the first 15 or 20 seconds of talking.
And I think that's important when we refer someone to you or our physio for the city, is that first impression is just so important. And you know instantly whether you're going to like and trust that person, and whether they have my best interest, and it's not the classic chiropractor saying you're all bad, but come see me 3 times this week in 10 weeks, 30 sessions. You'll be fixed by session 30.
Yeah, I think there's key values. I mean, we talk about it. If every health professional had this underlying skill set of they understand contemporary pain science, they understand biopsychosocial pain, they understand quality anatomy, they have good communication skills, and they understand exercise prescription, and they believe in self-efficacy. So me building you up to the point where you don't need me, I'm just an episode of pain, and then I teach you a little bit more, and now you've got a higher bar to when you need me again.
Right,
you don't want
something
to be
professional.
for
It's the same way you look at a nutrition coach.
Yeah.
If you can't track your calories or understand carbs, fats, and protein up to 4 weeks, that's a bad coach.
Exactly, yeah. So I think those things are what we're aspiring to, and what I'm very passionate about. It's just raising, building, having more of these connections, and guys like you putting on these platforms for your members and communities. We want people to be, in places like this awesome facility, building their health literacy and resilience and strength, and needing us to just topping up little episodes of things, episodes of pain we call them, and get them back into places like this. You guys are the people that help capture and maybe identify things and help deal with it or point them in the right direction to people that you know, like, and trust, and they have those skill sets, and then they come back. So that's why I think it's really important. That's why I love functional fitness and community-based gyms like this.
So if someone has a heel injury, Andrea brand of martial business, what days do you work? How can they book in for the appointment? I mentioned to Andrew this morning, Justin.
Oh, right.
Still down there.
Go see him.
Yeah.
Go see him.
Yeah, so where you work and where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm just based in here at the stadium when the Knights and the Jets play. Donald Jones Stadium. A couple of days a week. As I said, I lecture and teach at the uni as well, so I'm tied up a little bit there. But yeah, reaching out on the socials or whatever it is, I'm not that great with all the social stuff, but I'm there and about. But yeah, even if it's just a conversation, I'm a nerd for it. I actually enjoy chatting with people. I really don't. I'm busy.